Hi everybody, thanks for joining me here again on the Greetery YouTube channel. Today I'll be introducing a new addition to our BotaniCuts collection. Today's dye is BotaniCuts Pussy Willow, and it features some really fun pussy willow branches which are perfect for spring. So the BotaniCuts Pussy Willow dye has 3 different branches. All of the pieces needed to assemble each branch are grouped together on a die, so it's really easy to tell which parts and pieces go together. Each one has a branch and then a separate piece for the buds, which gets layered underneath, and then some optional little individual buds that can be layered over the top for even more dimension if you'd like. We are also going to be offering some flocking sheets in the shop, which are perfect for using with the Pussy Willow dye. I love to cut the bud portion from the flocked sheets. It's just an easy way to add a little bit of texture without having any sort of mess. You can see here I die cut the bud portion from the flocking, and it just has this really fun fuzzy texture to it, and super easy since it just die cuts. It's no mess to it, not messing around with glue and flocking. It's all just a sheet that can be die cut. So I'm going to go ahead and color and assemble some branches in this video today. I get a lot of questions about how I color the BotaniCuts. My favorite coloring method is sponging with oxide inks and then adding colored pencil shading. So a lot of times we look at, or we would think about pussy willow branches as just being like a brown branch with white fuzzy buds, right? But if you just take some time to really look at some pictures of pussy willow branches, you'll see there's a whole lot of color in the branches themselves and even in the buds as well. So I'm going to this looks a little crazy, but I have some picked raspberry ink. I'm starting off by sponging with a little bit of that. I'm also going to add some rusty hinge, and not paying really close attention to where the colors go, just kind of blending a lot of those colors onto the branches. This is just going to give us our kind of our base color, and then we're going to go in over the top now with some dark brown. I have ground espresso, and we're just going to pretty much go over the top of everything, although try to leave some of those colors showing underneath. So that's a pretty good base to start with. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some more shading with colored pencils. I have a dark brown colored pencil, and I'm just going to add some deeper color along the branches and the little nubs here on the stems. Let the lighter ink color show through as well. Don't color the whole thing solid, just add some shading. Now I'm going to switch to a red colored pencil. This is kind of a dark reddish pink. And I'm going to add just a little bit of this color along some of the areas of the branches, and especially these areas like right here where it's kind of like a leaf that will layer over top of the buds once we layer those underneath. And now I'm just going to go ahead and do that same thing on the other 2 branches as well. One other thing to note as I'm going along here is you might have noticed how I have my die cuts onto a sticky mat. This is a mat that's designed to be used with a Cricut cutting machine, like an electronic cutting machine, but I love to use them for this sort of thing. It holds all these tiny pieces in place so that I can more easily work with them and color and sponge ink and all that good stuff. You could even go ahead and add a little bit of bright green to some of the more of the tips of those little leaves and branches. Alright, so I think our branches are looking pretty good. We've got lots of interesting color and shading going on. Then I'm going to go over to the buds. As you can see, I have die cut those from our flocking sheets. I'm just going to very gently add a little bit of shading to these. I say gently because if you rub too hard, press too hard, you're going to rub the flocking off. So it's just really soft and gentle. I'm just going to add a little bit of shading to kind of the base of each of those buds. Again, you can make it a little more interesting by pulling in some other color, maybe a blushy pink or a bright green, and add even more color to those little buds. So that is looking pretty good, just a little bit of soft color on those. So our coloring is all done, and now we can go ahead and assemble our branches. I am going to just layer the cardstock branches over top of the buds and just glue those in place. I've recently come across this really fine tip glue that I really like. It's called Barely Art, and it's perfect for these super delicate dies. So the bud portion just extends to the bottom of where the little sprouts or leaves end. So I'm just going to add adhesive to that top portion of the branch. And then they're really easy to line up. You just go ahead and look for the different buds and bases and how they line up. And you'll see that branch lines up just perfectly. That way you're not working with all these little bitty pieces, and they're super easy to assemble. Like I mentioned earlier, there are some tiny individual buds. So if you would want to add some dimension, you can take the little buds and kind of layer them over the top and maybe, bend them out, fan them out a little bit if you want even more dimension. So there's our finished pretty pussy willow branches. They would look so pretty tied up with one of our bows, like maybe our fit to be tied or put a bow on it sets would be perfect for this. They're also great to cluster in our watering can from our Sprinkled with Kindness set. On this one, I used the branches to create a frame, and then also placed in lots of little die cuts from our Curio Spring Findings set. So it makes just a gorgeous springy nature frame. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this look at our new BotaniCuts Pussy Willow die, and they're super fun for spring, and I think you'll love coloring them.